Here we are, part 3 of our Brazil series with Mathilde. So far, we've covered cultural insights, attending the Rio Carnival, safety, accommodations, and street food. Now, it's time to talk about the final pieces of the puzzle: navigating the language barrier, handling money, staying safe, and budget friendly travel tips. If you're planning a trip to Brazil, this episode will help you travel smarter and with confidence. But before that, let's get to know Mathilde a little bit.
Thank you, Nanya. I'm happy to share more about my travels, especially if you've been having some trouble finding people that have traveled to Brazil. So I actually lived in Brazil for 6 months. I was doing my master's degree in Chile. This was about 2.5 years ago. This was in 2023. I decided I wanted to do a semester abroad in Brazil. So I applied through my master's program. I spent about 6 months in Brazil and tried to visit as much as possible. But Brazil is a humongous country, so I wasn't able to do everything that I wanted to do. But I did visit some nice spots that I'm excited to talk about later.
Anything travelers should know, like any challenging aspects of being in Brazil that travelers should be aware of before they get there, in your opinion?
So, like I was saying, the language barrier is very true in Brazil. Unfortunately, not a lot of Brazilians speak English. They want to, but it's harder. Learning Portuguese is definitely a game changer because most of the platforms that you book on, they're not going to be translated unless you translate it on your computer on your phone. But most of the platforms are in Portuguese. If you have any administrative paperwork to do, if you're staying longer in Brazil or any documents or whatever, all of that is solely in Portuguese. The language barrier is very real. And also just for like safety purposes, I would recommend knowing a few sentences like something's going on, you can understand what's going on, or if you're in danger, you can explain that you're in danger and that you need help. Or if something happens to you and somebody tries to help you, you can thank them, explain to them what happened. So yeah, definitely the language barrier. As for cash and paying and things like that, you can pay by card basically anywhere in Brazil. Even the little street vendors that I mentioned, they all have a credit card machine. Contrary to that's also something that kind of surprised me is that I didn't know that cash was so unimportant in Brazil because in the other countries in Latin America that I had traveled to, it was the opposite. It was like cash is king. But in Brazil, it's not the case. It's really you pay everything by credit card. Like, you just tap or with your phone.
Right.
Yeah, so that's really nice. That's like really cool. You can basically walk out with just your phone and you'd be fine. So that's really nice. Yeah, those are the two I would say biggest advice. And have a fanny pack or like a crossbody bag. That's like a real lifesaver. You have your things on you and not in such visible sight, or it's hard to hide, easy to hide if you need to, rather than having a big bulky backpack or like a even like a tote bag. I think a crossbody bag is definitely a smart idea.
Okay. But you were saying about your friend was saying keep your phone, don't flash your phone or money. Was
Yeah.
that specific to the carnival time or does that apply like if you're
Well, that applies to most of Brazil. Phone theft is very common. It's very easy to snatch somebody's phone, especially if you have a brand new iPhone or even it's worth a lot of money over there. They do that because they need the money. If you have something they know is worth a lot, they might try to take it. If you see other Brazilians with their phone out in their hand and they're taking pictures and they feel safe, then you can do that as well. If you're walking in the street area where nobody has their phone out, just blend in like a local as much as possible and you'll be fine. Brazil is such a ethnically like diverse country. Like my Brazilian friend told me like you could look like a Brazilian if you spoke good Portuguese. Like you could look like a Brazilian. Oh, interesting. And so it depends in which areas of Brazil, but like in Sao Paulo, like for sure. So yeah, if you act like a local, they might just take you for a local.
okay. That makes a lot of sense, yeah. Like to be aware of your surroundings and be mindful.
I would recommend that to someone traveling to any country, not just Brazil. Don't draw attention to yourself. Follow local guidelines. Be respectful of local norms and cultures. If you see a lot of locals doing something or not doing something because it's disrespectful, then don't do it. Yeah.
Yeah. On a bit of risk.
Mhm.
Yeah. Do you have any suggestions about to, since especially like a trip to Brazil if someone's going? It will be like a longer trip for sure if they want to see like at least like a little bit of it. Do you have any suggestions about how one could save money while in Brazil? It not turn out to be a very expensive affair.
Using buses is a great way to get around very cheaply. Sao Paulo to Rio costs maybe $10 or $15 one way. US, of course, dollars. Eat local foods, go to local restaurants, try local dishes, go to restaurants where you see a lot of other local people and where you don't see just a bunch of tourists, because those are usually the ones that you want to go to, the ones where there's locals, where they're packed or a lot of people. And or cook for yourself if you want to really save money. That's a lot cheaper than going out to eat. And for accommodation, I would say it's pretty budget friendly if you're staying in like hostels, or even if you're traveling with a pair, if you share an Airbnb, it's usually pretty affordable as well. And you can also like through Airbnb, you can filter depending on your budget level. You can go more towards the left on the little histogram with all the prices. And then if you really want to go for a budget friendly option, just pick hostels that have good reviews. And
That makes sense. Yeah. Is there anything you would do differently if you went again, or something you wish now that you knew before you were in Brazil for a longer period of time?
I would have probably just stayed longer and explored more. I think I would have tried to make more Brazilian friends at the beginning of my stay and made a lot of Brazilian friends towards the end or the last month or two. If I had made friends early on, I would have integrated myself a lot better into Brazilian culture. I learned so much about Brazilian culture in the last 2 months, and that's when I was leaving. I was so sad. I would definitely try to make friends with the locals like a lot earlier and if possible, stayed longer. But we always want to stay longer in a country we like.
And it's been really great listening about your trip. I'm now down to my last couple of questions.
Okay.
I want to know if you brought back any souvenirs from Brazil. Did you get anything that you still remember?
Yeah, I brought so the most famous or national alcohol in Brazil is the cachaça, and that's what they make caipirinhas with, which are delicious, by the way. And so I brought little bottles of cachaça so my mom and I could try it. So in Salvador, in the Northeast, they have these little statues that you can buy that are of like the traditional women. So they have a big skirt and they have an afro or like their hair done in kind of knots. And that's like the traditional kind of Northeastern, Brazilian Northeastern woman. I brought one of those little statues back. But other than that, and then a t-shirt, those typical tourist t-shirts that say Brazil on them. I took one of those. And I think that's it. I'm not big on souvenirs. I don't really say clutter my closet or my room with physical things, but memories for sure. I obviously brought back a lot of them. Yeah.
That's so nice. So how now that you think about your trip or staying in Brazil, and if you have to describe it, what would you say about it? If you have to convince
Um,
someone to go to Brazil or
I
tell them
would
why
say it
you
was
just
Yeah, I feel like with everything I've said, you'd want to go to Brazil tomorrow. But I would definitely say it was life changing. Not everybody's going to spend 6 months in Brazil. I have a very unique experience. Fortunate to stay so long in the country, but definitely life changing. The friends I made, the people I met, and the places I visited, I cherish those memories fondly. Yeah.
that's so great, and I can just see it on your face that you're
Yeah. I'm
connected
just like so
and
happy thinking about.
your face is glowing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it must have been quite a pleasant stay that you had in Brazil. Thank you
Yeah,
so much for
I would
sharing
go
with us.
back in a heartbeat. Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me and letting me talk about this wonderful country.
And thank you for taking the time to share with us today. I'm sure our viewers will find the information useful. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
All right, so we'll sign off for today and catch you all, our viewers, in the next session.
That was the perfect way to wrap up our series with Mathilde. Mathilde, your insights have been invaluable, and I'm sure our viewers now have a much clearer picture of what to expect when they are visiting Brazil. If you've enjoyed this series, don't forget to like, share, and comment below with your thoughts or any travel questions. And of course, subscribe for more amazing travel stories and tips. Until next time, happy travels!